Any additional thoughts on the running back situation? Najee DNP, Jalen Warren full. I'm not going to front from the research I've done on the Falcons. I kind of want to see what Benny Snell can do.
Hey, hey. But how are you
Benny
gonna?
Snell and Jalen Warren. I'd like to see what those two dudes could do.
But if Najee's available, how are you sitting him?
I think we just give him rest this week.
See, that's how it all starts. Hey. We just want to rest you real quick. Next is, hey Najee, we trying to prolong your career. We got a package for Jalen Warren all of a sudden. We got a Benny Snell package. Okay. Hey, Najee. Hey, we really like what we're seeing from you, but we're thinking this we're gonna just start to split some carries just because this team, they're gonna have some difficulties. Just this week. Just this week, we're gonna split carries. Just this week. Well, I mean, it
I
was
think
successful.
why I want
It
to
was
see it.
successful, so we might as well keep it going, and that's how it all happens, man. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the reasons why I want to see it too, and
Yeah.
why this part of the whole Snell has a good game. Now, can he
Mm-hmm.
be running back one? I think why this is different from the past moments that it's occurred
Yeah.
is we have a steady guy in Jalen Warren. I think
Yeah.
that we believe in case things go bad with Snell.
But we haven't seen steady guy Jalen Warren by himself without a Najee Harris. That's the thing. I don't know if you're willing to like. How do you say, "Hey Najee, man, we're not even going to attempt to put you back out there this week"?
You don't. If Najee's good, they're gonna put him out there.
You gotta have
Am I
him. You
wrong
gotta
though
play him.
in saying I
You,
kind of want to see what Benny Snell could do against this Falcons defense?
Deke, listen. Me as we just talking, no, you're not wrong. Me understanding how the organization works, Deke, you're wrong. Okay? That's the answer. Yeah, I'm with you. It's very intriguing. I think that, yeah, I would like to see it as well. But for the success, for the team, for the future, for Najee's role, you cannot do that, man. You gotta roll with him. You know that. You got to. You cannot do unless Najee physically can't play, you cannot do that right now, man. That's I mean, I know we like it, and we'll hit you with the man, they do it everywhere else. They start splitting carries with Zeke. They won't do it with Zeke his second year in the league. That's the thing. Like, you can't do it that fast, because when you do it that fast, you're letting them know, hey, we kind of got it wrong on you. You're not the bell cow. You're more of a rotational piece. You can't. That's a hard message to send, man. I don't know if you
Jalen
said that.
Warren is our version of Tony Pollard to Zeke
Uh
already.
huh.
Like we're already
Uh
doing
huh.
that.
Uh huh. So it's just
I get what
like,
you're
man.
saying. It's almost like the
Yeah.
quarterback switch
Uh
back and
huh.
forth. With us drafting Najee in the first round and declaring him a leader and like captain of this team,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they do it right now. But I'm
And then
telling you, I
and then
am
think
kind
about
of
this.
intrigued, especially with
And
how Benny
then
Snell played last week. That's all.
but think about this. Then you were just talking about just all that about Najee in the first round, and then a year later you're moving on from him for an undrafted guy that you got this year, and Benny Snell, who up until last game we haven't even seen him play this season. Yeah, that's a tough message to send to Najee. Yeah, that's a tough one.
I think
Yeah,
it just comes down to I feel like the ceiling to the running game could be better than what we've seen thus far with Najee being the RB1
fair.
because we've got to see it this year. And I
But this
feel
is
like
the
what we
thing
saw in the
though.
Colts game,
Mm-hmm.
man, I think that's better than what we've been getting the whole first
Potentially.
half and then these last couple
So
games after the bye.
if we're talking about a potentially higher ceiling, you have to exclusively be talking about this season. Because what we
Right.
saw from Najee last season, we haven't seen Benny Snell show that he can do that for 16 games, 17 games. So we're still making this decision based on what? A short sample size of just this year. If we're going to go full sample size even with Benny Snell, we got to include the fumbles. We've never seen Najee do that, right? Have those type of costly turnovers. We've also seen Najee be a lot more consistent. Even Jalen Warren, we haven't seen him have to be the bell cow for X amount of games, right? And deliver on that level. We can at least say Najee has done that. So yeah, that's a oh,
I'm with you. It's not happening. I'm with you. If Najee's good to go, he's gonna go for
yeah.
sure.
I'm over
And
here like
we are just talking about
yeah.
this season for
I'm
sure.
like, I'm like, I'm like, I need to at least have Najee like because to me, when I think of floor versus ceiling, okay, if we're talking exclusively this season, I think yes, you do potentially have a higher ceiling with a Benny Snell, Jalen Warren, Anthony McFarland because of the athletic ability and the burst that we've seen from them guys. But I also think we have a lower floor because how many of those dudes are definitively better blockers than Najee Harris? How many of those guys are definitively better ball handlers in terms of ball security than Najee Harris? How many of these dudes have definitively shown that they can actually lead you in November, December, the winter months when it's cold, and you could feed this dude 20 plus times and he's going to deliver? None of those dudes outside of Najee has shown us that. So that's the part where I'm like, this season, yes, you have a higher opportunity for excitement, but I also feel like you have a bigger chance for the ball security issues to pop back up. Absolutely. Because we haven't been talking about ball security. We haven't been talking about fumbles. But you start having that, it's like, whoa, that's a whole other ball game. That goes back to the turnovers like through the air with Kenny. It was like, man, all right, they're not on you, Kenny, but at the same time, it's still happening. So it's like, yo, something's got to give here. When we talk about pass protection, Najee has been one of our more consistent pass blockers, right? One of the more consistent pass blockers in the league in terms of running back play. You start subbing that out. Now, granted, Benny Snell can still block very well. Jalen Warren, very well. But they're not Najee Harris in terms of how he's able to do it. Number one, because of the size part of it, right? That's the biggest difference because all of these dudes have come through that fire and laid trove. So I'm not questioning that part. But what I am saying is, hey, man, if it's a Chihuahua with a ton of fight and it's a Rottweiler with a ton of fight, I'm going to take the Rottweiler. You know, and in that scenario, Najee is the freakazoid. Najee's the one when you stand them all next to each other, he looked very different than the rest of them. So that's why it's just like, man, I see the bro from the why are you doing this?
It's Benny Snell's fault. He's doing it again.
No. It's Benny's
playing
fault.
With our emotions.
It's Benny Snell's fault and it's Najee Harris' fault, man. Because if Najee would have been healthy and just doing what he's supposed to do, we would never even have to have these type of conversations. But because of how this season has played out for him, some of us on him, some of us not on him. Some of us on the offensive line, some of us on play calling. We get it. But either way, the play hasn't been good enough, and that's why we legitimately have to have a conversation like, yo, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. It's just the politics of everything. Like, that's the part where it's going to get too messy.
Yeah, because we can't deny what we saw in that Indy game.
We cannot deny that. We definitely cannot.
You got to see it all happen within the game, too. It wasn't like we saw it a couple games ago, and then we got to see Snell play. No, it was Najee went down with an injury. We saw how he was looking in that game.
Yeah.
Benny Snell and McFarland came in, and it was just more explosive. No, and if Snell has that element that Najee Harris has of being able to run over people and be a physical presence, then it's like, dude, I kind of want to see what it could look like going forward. That's all. That's all. I'm not wishing one way or another. I'm throwing out some of my thoughts right now.
All I'm saying is I'm going to at least give Najee a healthy opportunity. I need to see him fully healthy. Right now, we know this year he ain't been the most healthy dude. And if the conversation is, all right, are we trying to protect you from yourself and that's why we're making the decision, and it just so happens that it's paralleled with Benny Snell coming off the performance, we get a chance to see it, that's different. But I think it would need to have a clear messaging of why we're doing this. Like, yo, we literally feel like you're injured. Like, it has to be that. It can't be we just want to experiment, because that also sends a mixed message to not just Najee, but to the team. You know, you can't do that, man. You just can't do that. At least not from my experiences.